All right. Last month, for the first time, we put a bill on the president's desk to repeal Obamacare and to defund Planned Parenthood. Later today, we will have a vote to override the president's veto of this bill. We are taking this all the way to the end of the process under our Constitution. Regardless of the outcome today, this fight will not end here. We have now forged a path that is a clear path to repealing Obamacare without 60 votes in the Senate. So what we are proving today, that is, if we have a Republican president next year, we will repeal Obamacare and we will replace Obamacare. This is where it becomes so important that we become more than just an opposition party. So what we are showing today, we don't need 60 votes to repeal Obamacare. With the Republican president, we can get it done. And now we're going from being an opposition party to being an opposition party and a proposition party. This year, we will show the country how we would replace Obamacare with a true patient-centered system. We will show how we will lower costs and how we will restore the doctor-patient relationship. This will be a part of the bold agenda that we will present to the country in the months ahead. We will take our conservative principles and we will apply those conservative principles to the problems of the day to offer our fellow citizens solutions to the problems in their daily lives. These are not going to be things that we will be able to accomplish still in the White House. It is an agenda for what we will do next year with a Republican president to get our country back on track. This is what 2016 is all about. It's going to be a year of ideas. It's going to be a year of ideas on how we can restore a more confident America.
Well, good morning. As the speaker said, you all look pretty tired. I guess you were up late with the Iowa caucuses. I'm still wondering, I don't know who won on the Democrats' side. I guess we'll continue to see how that plays out. But this week, we have quite a commitment that Republicans made. I know the president made a lot of broken promises to everyone in America. If you liked your doctor, you could keep it. The premiums would go down. We soon found out that was not true. So today's vote will be a vote for an override because it's a commitment Republicans have made that we'd have a better health care system, one that focuses on the doctor and the patient. Thursday, we'll begin to roll out our task forces, coming off our retreat, what the speaker talked about, propositions, ideas, solutions, but also commitments. We'll keep our commitment, just as we'll keep in our task force to have a better solution for health care and one that empowers the individual and the doctor.
Good morning. Busy week, and in fact, when you look at the bill that the speaker talked about that we sent to the president a few weeks ago, that guts Obamacare and defunds Planned Parenthood, this was part of our budget process. In 2015, when we passed a budget and reconciled that with the Senate for the first time since 2001, that Congress passed a budget that balances in the 10-year window. It also gave us the ability to send a bill to the president's desk with 51 votes in the Senate, and we came together and used that opportunity to go after Obamacare and to defund Planned Parenthood. And so today will be the first time that the House has had the ability to override a veto of Barack Obama. And while we've seen the president veto this legislation, what it does show is just what's at stake in November. That if we get a president that shares our values in 2017 with the current makeup of Congress, we can actually get a bill to the president's desk and successfully have it signed into law to gut Obamacare and to defund Planned Parenthood and set up that opportunity to go and restore patient-centered health care, to put patients and doctors back in charge of their health care decisions instead of Washington bureaucrats. There are a lot of other things we're doing this week in terms of passing legislation, but yesterday we passed an important bill that probably got not much notice, but really should. It was Chris Smith's bill dealing with creating an international Megan's Law. Megan's Law is the law that requires sex offenders to register in communities all across the country. It's been a very effective tool used in the fight against not only sex trafficking, but to protect people in their communities. And so if you look at current law today, if somebody in a foreign country that's a friendly nation wants to get on a plane and come to America, if they're a convicted sex offender, they can do that today without the United States having any ability to know that that person's coming into the United States. That will change with the International Megan's Law that we passed and sent to President Obama's desk last night. So under that law, if somebody is a convicted sex offender from a foreign country coming into the United States, the United States will have to be notified, and we can actually block that person from coming into the United States. So a very important bill by Chris Smith that went to the president's desk.
Good morning. It was great to spend an extended time in Eastern Washington with the people who make our communities great. And there was one meeting that really stood out to me. And it was an individual who was sharing about going round and round with an arrogant federal agency. And he said, you know, it is as if they have lost the focus of their mission. And you know what? It's not just one individual, and it's not just one federal agency. Unfortunately, this is repeated over and over. You think about the frustration that people have all across this country, whether it's a farmer that's frustrated with the EPA regulations, a veteran who's trying to get an appointment scheduled at the VA, or a recent college grad who's trying to find a job. They have been stifled by the top-down government knows best approach that we see over and over. And unfortunately, their voices are being stifled as the executive branch continues to make more and more of these decisions. That's why it is so important, the work that we're doing this year, to build an agenda that's going to restore a confident America so that every American is going to feel secure in their lives and in their futures because their voices are being heard and reflected through their elected representatives. As we present a bold, forward-looking agenda, we must restore the constitutional "we the people" mandate. This is part of the choice that we will be offering America as we move forward in 2016. It's a choice that trusts people to make their own decisions and pursue their own dreams.
I just spent the last few weeks traveling my district, listening to concerned Kansans share their concerns at about 18 town halls. And from farmers in Bourbon County to small business owners in Douglas County, I heard the same sentiment shared throughout all the town halls. People are worried about the state of our economy. They're worried about continued government encroachment, especially over regulation. They're worried about the increased threat of radical Islamic terrorism and a commander-in-chief who won't even acknowledge the problem, much less put a plan into place to destroy them. This kind of feedback reinforces the work that we are doing here in the House by passing sensible, bottom-up legislation that responds to the will of the American people. The bills the House will put on the floor this week targeting Iran terrorist organizations, reducing Washington's burdensome regulations for small businesses. That's a great place to start. It's time for Congress to give the American people what they're asking for, a more calm America.
Good morning. A few weeks ago, I shared with you all how the president had a choice. And the choice was whether he was going to listen to the American public and whether he was going to support women's health care or whether he was going to support Washington mandates and the misuse of taxpayer money going to Planned Parenthood. Sadly, we know that the president's priorities now are with bigger government and misuse of tax dollars. But we in the House of Representatives are going to stand for the American public. We are going to vote, once again, to override this veto and to repeal this onerous law. And the reason we continue this battle is not only because we are staying for the American people, because we care about the American people, and Obamacare is hurting them. Let me share with you a story from my district that happened about a year ago. After church, my husband and I and my daughter went to Wendy's, like we often do, grab a hamburger, and a friend I hadn't seen since high school, which was just a couple of years ago. Well, anyway, it was a few years ago, but I hadn't seen her in a while. Her name's Tracy. She called me and goes, "Hey, Vicki, come here a minute." And it was good to catch up with her, but she said, I've got a problem. I want to ask you about something. She said, "My husband and I just got a letter last week from our insurance company saying that the policy that we have had for years has been canceled. And the only policy that we have now is going to cost us $6,000 more a year, and it's going to have a $6,000 deductible." And she said, "Vicki, we don't have that kind of money. What am I supposed to do?" And I didn't know what to say. Should I advise her to break the law and not have an insurance policy?
because that is part of what is wrong with Obamacare. It mandates, the government mandates to the American people that you have to purchase an individual private policy and then dictates what is in that policy. So should I advise her to break the law and not have a health care plan? Or should I advise her to not make a house payment, to not save for her child's college, or to not make a car payment? These are the choices that too many of my constituents and our constituents, the people of this country, the good people of this country, are facing. That is why we are standing here today. That's why we continue to fight. That's why we must repeal Obamacare, and we must replace it with something that gives the American people more control and more choice and frees them up from the Washington dictates that are hurting them and their families. Thank you.
Excellent, Vicki.
Questions?
Yeah,
Lucas.
I know you don't like to comment on the presidential race.
Thanks.
I trust you took a political science class at Miami of Ohio, and I was.
Yeah, you know how I met it? Mike Oxley was the guest speaker in my freshman political science class. Yeah, I just,
You know a
it's like-
few things. Bernie Sanders and Ted Cruz, the most extreme of the senators, won last night, or almost won in Sanders' case. What do you think that says about the current state of the electorate?
You would want to spend all that time on a question I'm not going to answer. I mean, look, the Republican and Democratic primary voter will be selecting the nominees of their parties. The process began. I'm excited to see it going because what this tells me is the days of Barack Obama presidency are numbered. They will be over in a year's time, and I have every reason to believe we will have a Republican president and we will get things right.
Isn't it interesting that you're a socialist?
But you said last week that anger is not a strategy, anger is not a principle. Do Republican voters agree with that?
I think they agree that we need to channel the anger that's out there into action. Look, this is the key. Look, Vicki just told high school that's angry. But let's channel this anger. Look, we are all angry. We are all angry that the country is headed in the wrong direction. We're angry we're not doing what we need to do to defeat ISIS. We're angry that we have a porous border. We're angry that people aren't getting raises. We're angry that we've had 2% something growth for 10 years. We're angry that a debt crisis is on the horizon and we've done nothing to fix it because of a progressive president. So yeah, we're angry, but the key here is take that anger and channel it constructively into action. Let's take it and harness it into action. And let's go out and give a positive message, a hopeful message, an optimistic and inspirational message to our fellow citizens in America to tell them that it doesn't have to be this way. That what's happening in this country does not have to continue. We can get better. We can improve things. We can get our country on the right track. And that anger needs to be channeled, and that's what we're trying to say.
Is there anything specific you're looking to talk to the president about?
I think we're going to talk about a lot of different things. There are a few things on my list, and I assume that there are a few things on his list, but I'll get to that with him in person.
What's on your list?
I'll get to that with him in person. I'd rather have the conversation with him before with you, Jake. No offense.
That said, is it awkward to go into that meeting with the president, your first one-on-one, I believe, since you've been president? I know you talked to him on the telephone a few times. When you're repealing Obamacare here, or trying to override.
I think he knows how I feel, and I know how he feels. So there are no bones about our differences of opinion. Look, I ran against the guy in the last election, so I think we definitely have different opinions. We have different philosophies and principles. I think his are not the right ones for America. I think he's taking the country away from what it was intended to be. I don't think we want a liberal progressive welfare state and a second-rate military. I think we want to be America, and we want to lead, and we want prosperity, and we want opportunity, and we want to get the American idea back on track. I feel very strongly about that. I believe in the principles that created this country. He's a liberal progressive. We just don't agree. We those disagreements in check, see where the common ground is, go act on that common ground to get some things done, and then on the big issues that we don't agree, we believe we have an obligation to our constituents and our fellow citizens to offer alternatives, and that's what we're going to be doing this year.
Last question.
2 years ago, there were some strained relations between Boehner and some of the outside conservative groups. You're going to talk to Heritage tomorrow. Do you feel like that relationship is changing?
Yeah, I come out of the conservative movement. I was a think tanker myself. I've spent so many days at the Heritage Foundation in my lifetime. You know, I love Heritage Foundation, Ed Follner, Mandate for Leadership. I think all of these parts of the constellation of the conservative movement are constructive and helpful. And I think the goal here and what the message I'm going to be is we need to unify. It's time to unify as conservatives and Republicans and to go out and win an election and to win converts, to include, to expand, and to appeal, and to inspire. And so that is what we're going to do. And yes, I have very good relationships. Jim DeMint and I are in the same class. We got elected in 1998 together. We served in 99 on. So I have a lot of longstanding friendships that go back deep within the conservative movement. And I have every reason to believe that will help us unify our movement. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.